to Real and Raw with I am Lynn Serrano. Oops, I can't hear you, Brian. You're muted.
And
Welcome to the show.
Mhm.
So, how's it going over there? Staying warm in California?
Leaving tomorrow.
Oh, wow. Time just flew, didn't it?
Not really.
No. So you miss your bed a little bit, don't you?
Just ready to get back to it. Ready to get back to work.
Routine. Yeah, I hear you. It's warming up here. We're not in the minus 20s now. Just had to replace the battery in my vehicle, but it's just been stinking cold. We got Tracy in the house. Welcome, Tracy. So can you hear me okay?
Yep.
All right. So anyhow, so our topic today is couples, the proposal, traditional meets modern.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder how many people out there got engaged that I know. I haven't noticed. What about you? Or is your phone ringing yet of people getting engaged?
Nope.
No. How long does it usually take for you to get to know after Valentine's Day if people are looking to? It's not like a.
It doesn't work like that.
No.
Usually doesn't work like that.
No.
Only if they inquire or whatever is really where I know. Now in passing, I'll see things online, but I don't put much merit into it. If I mean, I might say thank you or congratulations or whatever, but if it's for business or whatever, until they contact me, I don't really know.
Yeah. Sandy's in the house.
Hey, Sandy.
So do you think that people get a hold of you in enough, or like, do they give themselves like a year when they work with you, or sometimes I'm just curious, what's been the shortest amount of time you had to work on a wedding?
12 days.
Wow.
12 days.
Was that too stressful, or were you like totally excited about the challenge?
No, I wanted to just come through for these people.
That's awesome.
10 years, 11 years before that, I actually did the bride's brothers, or excuse me, I did the groom's sister's wedding. And for this particular wedding, the mother of the bride from 2006, she had nothing to do with the wedding. And they had some professionals take their money and, unfortunate things. So then they were thrown into a situation where they had to make it happen in a short period of time. And she had my business card in one of her drawers, and she got in touch, and I happened to be available. And a buddy of mine from right outside of Chicago, Gary, instilled into me that a great professional is always ready, and it's 100% true, right? Is that we prepare for these things that are selfless and to come through for people, but also though deciphering like what is essential information that we need. We got to put together a plan. What services do you need me for? Are we good to work together? I mean, usually that gets sidetracked. I mean, obviously I don't want to put myself in a position of working with somebody that, we're not good for. We're just not. But their wedding, the outcome of their wedding is ticking away, and you either pull through for people or you don't. And that's really what it boils down to. So
that's pretty awesome that you were able to do that. So Sandy said, wow, Brian, you're a professional. Absolutely. But so were you pretty happy on how everything turned out then too?
Well, I mean, when after being in this industry almost 30 years in the wedding industry, is that you pull from resources that you didn't know you had, because it's not about you. You do whatever you can to make sure that it happens for them without any thought or any awareness that you're the backup person or you're the person that had to come in and save the day. And none of it is self-indulgent, none of it whatsoever. But you want to pick up and be on the same page as soon as possible. You need to get the information that you need to make it happen, because you see things that they don't see because they've never done this before. They're not on that side. And it's an amazing feeling, but there's all sorts of lessons that are learned. And one of those is a last minute wedding checklist, where here are all the things that I need, like the essentials to create a wedding. And, You know, I make it very clear that we don't have the time to personalize lots of things, you know, but what we do have time for is we got to create an agenda. We got to create a plan for the day. What's it going to look like? What services do you need me for? Who's the team members? Who are the parents? Who are the personal assistants? Who are the bridal attendants? You know, all of these people need to be brought into what we're doing, and we need to do it fast because they are involved. And any wedding I'm a part of, we do this as a team. That's just like in theater, right? You never do anything alone. Everybody's on the same page. And because that comfort or that stress or that fear will show up in pictures. It'll show up in how those people enjoy the wedding or embrace what's going to happen. If they feel like they're taken care of and they know what's going on and they know that they have somebody there to help them, not control them, not tell them what to do, but that they know what's at stake. Because I think that of every wedding that people stand up in or a part of, you know, depending on what their understanding of a wedding is, or if they've ever been to a great wedding, right? And then whatever that definition is, it contends with, well, how's this thing going to go? You know what I mean? Not all weddings are done to, you know, and it has nothing to do with money, but it has everything to do with how people feel. How emotional is it? How heartfelt is it? That's free, but that's a creation, just like a wedding. And
That's priceless.
It doesn't matter how much money you have or whatever, because that's always like, if I had more money, no. I've seen a lot of weddings in my years where they spend a lot of money thinking that it's going to make it better and it's going to make it more fulfilling. And it might be more glamorous and they might have everything for everybody, but it doesn't mean they're going to remember it anymore. And all of that memory has everything to do with how people feel. When they leave that wedding, what words trigger them to think about that wedding over all the other ones that they've been to? And it's about the emotion. It's about the love. And it's about the love story of the couple. How many people actually know that information? How many people know how that happened, moment by moment, year by year, in a narrative? Not a lot of people do, you know?
I love when you talk about that stuff. Your compassion is so on point. I've talked to other wedding planners and they talk to you everything about everything. Yeah. Go ahead and read Jerry's thing there.
Sure. So Jerry said, and Jerry, thanks for tuning in to, let's see here. Our names are the Dynamic Duo. What other rock stars? Or maybe that might be a Larry thing, but so Jerry says, I only can imagine the cultural changes in a wedding in today's world. I'm sure there are challenges you never thought you would see. Yes, there are, Jerry, but given my training and given who I've been around, is that it's all about a conversation. It's all about communication. And I'm talking like bringing the team together, doing things that nobody else does, right? So that everybody can navigate and experience the event together, not separate. You know everything that's going to happen, but it's done in such a way where you can embrace when things happen versus, oh, do I need to be somewhere? That's an entirely different reaction than if somebody knows what's going to happen because they talked to, they're brought a part of the team, right? It blows my doors off. And that was one of the major reasons why I got, started certifying myself and getting my master's in wedding planning, wedding and event planning, is because I found that there was wedding planners that only had their best interest in mind. They didn't have all the other professionals. And if they don't like your particular part of the industry, they control when you get your information. I'm sorry, but I'm not a puppet. And my reputation is more than somebody saying when and where I should get my information. I work with the customer. I work with the customer, but I partner, with the other professionals. But my success is not based on somebody else giving me what they feel I should know. I take that ownership of myself, that if you want the kind of outcome I can help create, here's what I need. There's no second thought about it.
Yeah, but you must have really good relationships with the people the vendors and things that you work with, because, without that, you probably can't produce what you want to produce. So,
well, it all depends. I mean, because a lot of times, depending on geographically where I'm doing a wedding, I mean, it's not uncommon for me to work with different people. I mean, a venue might be the same, but obviously I'm not everybody's cup of tea. All of my events are very high touch and highly personalized events. Taking that personalization to the level that people never knew that they could feel is not something that even people know about or know how you create that. or how personalized or how emotional can a wedding be? We
I
don't
never,
know that answer, you know?
I never thought I'd want to be a wedding crasher, but I want to crash one of your weddings. I swear, I loved your passion. It is like I'm just would be excited to see you at work. Like
Yeah.
I just, it's exciting when you talk about it. I mean, it truly is. I mean, it
And
just.
and here's the thing, and nothing happens until a couple is willing to engage and trust and talk about themselves, how they met. What are those moments? How do they want to feel in those moments? Right? None of the service offerings, what I can offer, whatever matters without their narrative. This is their wedding. Why is this event happening? It's not because of things I offer. And I've said this for years to people, and I still remember the first bride and groom I shared it with, is I said, nobody's showing up to your wedding to see me. And they chuckled, and then I could just see the wheels turning immediately, right? I'm not, and get rid of all the wedding planning, you know, movies depicting whatever, because it's complete, in my opinion, nonsense, right? What we do is selfless. We're servants, right? If you're doing it for the right reasons, you're a servant. Your joy comes from that everything happened the way that you wanted it to happen, how you wanted it to happen. It's not for accolades. It's not for prestige, in my opinion. Is that you fulfilled on something you committed to, and you did it beyond their wildest dreams, you know?
So, so do people usually consult you? Like, okay, let's forget about COVID, but before COVID, like your calendar, would it usually be 1 or 2 years out at times? Have they
Uh,
been?
the well, I don't have it. I don't have it on like when most people come to me or whatever. All I can say is that the longest couple I've ever worked with was Justin and Amanda, who Justin has showed up on our show and is a watcher. I worked with them for 26 months to create
Oh,
their wedding.
awesome.
So I mean, anywhere from 12 days to 26 months. But here's the thing: it should not be based on time. It should be
No,
based on priority.
no,
How
but
much do those people matter to you?
yeah, no, what I'm talking about as far as like, when uh, people get engaged, are they thinking, oh my gosh, I better get that wedding planner before he gets booked by somebody else? That's where I'm coming from as
Yeah.
far as asking, the urgency that people feel like I better book Brian before somebody else does. That's
Yeah.
where I was coming from that
But here's the
question.
thing,
So,
all the best professionals will reserve earlier than others. But
yeah,
also, though, for me, I'm going to tell somebody flat out, when I meet with somebody or whatever, I don't chase anybody. If somebody wants to reserve me, you know, they have a little window to do that, but I'm not going to do follow-up calls and checking with this person to see if they want. Otherwise, this one doesn't. I look at everything I do just like a bride looks at buying a wedding dress. They don't use guides to say, oh, okay, 12 months before I should reserve my wedding dress. No, no, no. It's an emotional decision. If they go dress shopping, once they find that dress, they're not going to wait to reserve it. They're going to buy it sight unseen, you
yeah,
know? And how I know that is because it's psychology, right? It's an emotional decision. She's been dreaming about this dress for her whole life. You can throw logic aside. When she finds the dress that she wants, she doesn't wait a second longer to reserve that. And that's the way that because I mean, it gets really dirty when professionals say, well, I've only got one date available and somebody else, called me already. And it's like, you don't know if that crap's true. I'm not gonna, no, no. But here's the thing: I don't chase people, and it's not meant to be arrogant or egotistical. But number one, I don't want to be a pest. Number two, this has to be a mutual decision between everybody involved. I think that a lot of professionals over the years is that they feel like the only one that is making the decision is the couple or who has the money. That's not true, in my opinion. If there's a big if you have a reputation and credibility on the line every time that you go out and do an event, right? Just because somebody has dollars doesn't mean they're best spent with somebody just because, hey, here's the money. But what if we don't work well together? What if you don't want to do homework that I ask you to do to create this experience? Well, we're going to be butting heads, and is that a great experience for anybody? Does it make anybody wrong? No. It just means that we're not meant to work together,
uh,
you know?
Yeah. You know, I saw something yesterday and I posted it on my page about actually, you know what? You keep talking for a second. I think I'm going to try to share it and find it.
Yeah.
It's
And I
on my
mean, and just so
page.
everybody knows, we thank all of our loyal listeners and watchers. And with anybody catching the replay after Lynn and I show, we're so grateful that you're here and sharing some time with us. And we're just grateful that you tune in. And if you can walk away with one thing or many things, we're grateful for that. The topic for today came from my girlfriend's cousin, who asked me this question a couple days ago because she has a sister that has been engaged for a few months now, and she asked me the question about proposals. Is it I can't remember the exact wording, but what it came into being was is it commonplace now for the future groom to ask, the father of the bride? And I said, it's not that simple anymore. Maybe traditionally, but it's like, I don't think that we can really get to the source of it unless we ask more questions. I don't think it's blanketed, right? Especially, and here's what I mean by that. Culturally, the dynamic of the families, how well the bride, knew her dad, right? How old they are is definitely a consideration. And so that's where the topic for today was inspired by her. So, I mentioned to her this morning that the topic that we talked about is going to be on our show for today.
Nice.
So,
check this out. I don't know if it's going to play right away or not, but this
sure.
is something in my hometown. Hold on. Here we go.
Oh, wow.
What did you do? I was walking to the studio. He was just coming out, and I was pulling up. I just saw him come outside, and he just rolled. You got your wallet? Stay here, Trina. What's up? Trina, get back, Trina. You didn't steal that? You stole that? Keith, I know you ain't no thief. I know you. Keith, oh my God.
This is in my hometown, Syracuse.
Okay. That's cool. That's really cool.
Thank you, officer.
I thought that was too cute not to share.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
I thought that was great. So as far as proposals, I mean, that's not your traditional.
Well, traditional in terms of a way of doing it, but who knows, if the groom or the future groom went about it in a traditional way.
Yeah. So anyways, so yeah, it's
we got into a discussion about and this, to me, this is deeply rooted in psychology, and to somebody that doesn't have that or whatever, I understand, but I don't, there is no one size fits all. Is there a tradition? Is it vested in history? Yes. But without actually getting able or making it personalized and looking for opportunities to personalize it for everybody involved, I think that all the people need to be involved in the conversation. And the reason why, so that number one, everybody's heard, right? And so number two is that nobody is upset or disappointed. It doesn't mean that everybody's going to get their way, but everybody was included in it as a peaceful thing to do, right? And for me, the first thing I went to in her situation is like, what's the relationship between your sister and your dad? Right? That's where I would start, because it would make logical sense to me is that if they didn't really get along, or if they parted ways or whatever, that maybe he wouldn't ask her dad, right? There's no right or wrong way, but to get deeply rooted into what it is, I think that you have to explore the dynamics of that. This is not a simple thing.
Have you have you been in that situation where you found out the guy didn't ask the dad if they could get married, and it was kind of a little hostile situation on that, or
Yeah,
yeah,
and it was based on assumptions. It was based on feelings that weren't communicated. It was based on non-communication. You know, where there was the dad, the father of the bride, and the bride where they thought that they were on good terms, or at least one of them did, but the other one didn't. And instead of confronting them about it, or just being complete about what it is, they just went about their days without ever completing whatever was in the way. And obviously regret, hurt, feelings happen. And I can see that coming down the runway, right?
So is this something you asked them? So you do ask this question to them, how the proposal went to did you do traditional asking the parent? I mean, do you ask those things?
As much as they want to share, but that's after they become a customer, as much as they want to share with me on the front end, they can, but I'm just going to use that for idea generation, or just to connect, to paint a picture about what they look like, but in terms of specific details, I don't ask that information or get down deep into it until I'm working with them. Just because it's like there's going to be more information that I'm going to want from them, but if we have not decided if we want to work together, I don't know if more information helps, especially on the front end if we're not working together, so it's all good stuff. Don't get me wrong, but if I'm not going to be a part of the creation process, well, then it doesn't
mute point.
And I've learned that over the years, where I would ask for enormous amounts of information over the years, but if we don't work together, if it doesn't work out, well, everybody took time for something that isn't going to materialize anyway, so I mean, I love diving down deep into this because I look for the little nuances. I look for the feelings, I look for those moments where they can paint a picture for me. And when it happens, it's amazing, because then I can just, I can look at that and to be like, okay, did the parents swap, seats, right? Like, or like when it comes to the wedding, how would you feel if your parents swapped seats right before you said your vows? You know what I mean? Like all sorts of different things, if they were elaborate with the proposal, well, more than likely they might be a little bit more elaborate, or they might want to do some different stuff for, their ceremony. You know what I mean? I don't think that, I think that how they do the proposal, if it's creative, if it's a surprise, that tells me a lot about who they are as people. And more than likely that's going to carry over to how they look at their wedding as well.
So what would you say now, as far as the proposals, traditional to meets modern? I mean, do you feel like there's still a lot of traditions and traditional lately, or it really is just a modern way of, hey, we're getting hitched and we're planning this and that's that?
I can't answer that question because we need a context. We need a context, like per couple or a part of the country, right?
Yeah. I was just talking about the trends. I was talking about the trends that you see within your clients. That's where I was bringing it.
I think that they're more modern. Obviously, they're the results and the statistics are crazy high in terms of couples that do not get married in a church anymore, because they'll have a ceremony, but they want it on their terms. They want it without having it be like governed by religion, right? Where if you want to do it in this house of worship, you have to abide by these rules. A lot of people don't want that, right? Plus, they want to actually have the ceremony on the same property as where the reception and everything is. So it's less travel. It's less, for out of towners to get there. And if they have a few too many drinks, that they get back to the hotel safe. But like an in-church ceremony versus an outside ceremony, at least for the people I serve, they want to do it all on the same property. So when guests leave the hotel and they get on the shuttle, they leave for the whole day and then they come back, right? They don't have to think about things. They just have to experience what's there. So I take the frame of mind is that, what is the root of it? How did the couple's love story come about, right? To me, that's going to start off traditional, but obviously who they are as people is going to take the reins as far as how that may happen, right? And then there's a lot of questions involved in that. Who's invited? Who's not invited? Is there sentimental value about where he does it? Is it a surprise? Did they talk about rings? Did they not talk about rings? Those are all questions to me that are very fascinating. But in order to create something that is very personalized, that is the information that's necessary, in my opinion, if you want it done the right way with feelings, emotion, and it just, man, it draws everybody in.
Do you find that or have you just been hired sometimes just to, like, after they do their church wedding, like, you don't have nothing to do with that part, the ceremony, and you just have something to do with the reception? I mean, have you done like half and half?
Yeah, I've done ones where they just reserve me a la carte for one particular piece of their wedding versus all of it. You know, one of the biggest myths that goes on in weddings is that just because you get married in a house of worship doesn't mean you have people there to direct things, right? You know, obviously, depending on the religion, you know, there's gonna be limitations. You know, you get to choose from these 7 songs throughout your whole ceremony, right? There are some religions like that. Okay, no problem. But it's like having a person to direct everybody, having a person there to the timing out of everything, the little nuances, where people stand, right? Like when everybody's walking down the aisle, you know, and then all of a sudden everybody turns in, you know, and that kind of thing. And then where are the bouquets? All these little nuances are outside of what a priest is going to do or what an officiant is going to do in a house of worship. So it is something I've done in the past. I love doing it. But in a house of worship, I think a lot of people assume that just because it's in a house of worship that you don't need direction, you don't need organization. And that can be further from the truth. Because when the priest is up there doing his thing, that is the only thing he's responsible for. He's not responsible for anything else. And I think a lot of people in their thought process, you know, knowing that it's a structured environment, there's an aisle, there's an altar, there's these things, is that people think that that's all that just by having that space, that all of that organization and directing is no longer needed, which could be further from the truth.
Yeah. So, yeah, I just thought that was a curious question. If they, you know,
I mean,
have you just a part of it.
I mean, no, just so everybody knows, everybody that's watching this, is that I'm coming from a place of theater, performing arts, emotion. Every wedding is a production, right? Where there is no one size fits all. But in order to do anything personalized, you have to dig down deep. You have to be willing to take that time and to really understand the couple and who they are. But then it's a brain trust where if they're willing to open up about who they are as a couple, matched with my expertise, put all that together, who knows what can be created. That's why there is no one size fits all. Because when you collaborate with people that are open to creating something that they've never seen before or any of their family and friends, there's no limits to that. You know, the only limitations would be money, creativity, and idea generation. That's it. Or imagination.
Had you really had to like pull teeth to get any, but probably now you really just know what to ask in order to trigger that creativity within them by just asking them who they are.
I think it's a great question, and it's something that that's becoming more firm for me all the time, because I usually don't go very far engaging with a couple if they don't want to do that. You know, that it doesn't mean that we're bad people. It just means that we're not right for each other. But the one thing is, they're drawn to the outcome. They're drawn to how they want to feel. But then all of a sudden they don't realize that in order to get that starts here. That starts from grassroots, blank piece of paper, blank canvas. Let's go.
They got to put some work into it. Absolutely. It's just like a book. You don't buy a self-development book and say, shit, I read that. Well, you got to implementation for sure. So
I remember years ago, and all of my business is word of mouth referrals, and it's been that way for years. And I'm grateful and blessed that I created a business like that. And I remember years ago when I met with this couple, and I was referred to them by a couple people. And this is before all the social media was getting really big. And I'm sitting there and I'm trying to have a conversation. I'm looking at the groom, you know, right in his eyes and talking, but his fiance over here is on her phone, you know, like disconnected and all this. And I said, okay, time out. I said, are you, can you engage with us? Right. Like, and she said something to me that I didn't, that was really rude. And I said, this is weird that we're taking our time to talk about your wedding.
And you're not even here.
But you're not engaged in this process. I don't know what else to say. And ultimately what came out to being is that the groom just wanted to clap his fingers and have this magical wedding created without any input or time put into it.
Now, was he a referral that he had been to one of your other weddings and figured, hey, I'm going to have what they had? Is that probably where he came from?
No, he was friends of people that I've done other weddings for, but he was not at it. But obviously he heard about it and all of that. But it's like, I asked him, I said, what you're asking me to do, I can do, but it's impossible without me accessing this. I don't know how you think. I don't know who you are as a person, right? And that's where it begins. And how does somebody access somebody's personalization or vision or theme without knowing what makes them tick? It's literally impossible. And to me, that is the root of everything. And so with social media and how people engage, they want to remain anonymous, but they want the amazing wedding. They want the one that people are going to be talking about. But that starts with a conversation, and then obviously people put into their head that, oh my God, he's going to high pressure me and get me to sell something. It's like, wait a minute. The narrative that you've heard outside of in the world or whatever, don't bring that here, because I'm not mentioning anything about buying anything. I don't even know if I can help you, right? And I think too many people, and we might be conditioned by society for that. We might be, right? Where, when somebody brings up something to you, you could be doing 13 other things over here, but this person says, hey, you got to check this out. And, what's the price on that? You know what I mean? Like, you're not even conscious of what this person's wanting you to look at or, to interact with. And so that's where it starts. And some couples are not up for that. They don't want to interact or engage. Well, I'm sorry, but I can't create a wedding via text. That won't work. Especially if it's going to be one that you want to remember, right? If somebody's not willing to engage or talk about their wedding, I mean, on the biggest day of their lives, we might not be the right fit.
Yeah, that's a big flag for you to have the bride just like checked out. I mean, that's like, I don't even, it's like, do you even want to get married? I mean, that's the impression I had.
And the saddest part about it is that she still has expectations. She still is going to have an opinion of things, but I can totally see that what she doesn't share, or whoever's going to get involved in that situation, is from a professional standpoint, they're accountable to things that they may or may not be aware of. That's the saddest part, right? Because if it's not done to the nth degree, but it's like, well, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to force you to engage with me. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
we're here, we're investing our time together, but if you're not willing to engage with me, there's only so much I can do. And plus, to me, it seems disrespectful, right?
Oh, sure.
I mean, we're all investing our time. You gave time to come to this place to have coffee, talk about your wedding, and you're on your phone. Okay. But how would you feel if I did that to you? That empathy stuff matters to me a great deal, because it's like, well, everybody talks about people being professional or unprofessional. It's like, well, what about the flip side of that? What about if I show up in the best light possible, but the other person doesn't? Does that make, should I have to deal with somebody that's on their phone or doesn't feel the need to put it down for an hour? So it's, clapping the fingers and making it happen or whatever. Yeah, that's possible. People do it all the time in weddings, but if it's personalized, and if it's done with a highly personalized approach, that's impossible without conversations and getting inside the person's head about what they want out of their day and how they want to feel.
Wow. Yeah, there's definitely a lot to it. And gosh.
I mean,
I think people think
ahead.
it's like, I'm sorry. I think like people think it's like catering, oh, I'll just pick the menu, and some people, and there are wedding planners like that. You could probably say, pick the menu and just do, but if you want something exclusive, then there's Brian. So.
And
absolutely.
Is it more work? Sure. Is it right for everybody? No, it's not. And I'm perfectly okay with that, because anybody that I work with, we spent a lot of time together, but that time was rewarding. We're longtime friends. I mean, like Matthew and Ann, I was a part of their wedding after one COVID change, from April 24th to October 9th. They're enjoying their first day of their honeymoon to Hawaii right now.
Nice.
I mean, close relationships. How else do you create those besides making that who you are and why you do what you do? I mean, It can't be a light switch. It's either something you commit to all the time, every day, or something you don't, because, there's a lot of businesses that'll just take your money and run, but then you leave unfulfilled and unhappy. Well, if you choose it, well, I don't know what to tell you.
Did you have any weddings right before COVID? I mean, when was your last wedding before COVID?
My last wedding was October 9th.
October before the March?
No,
that's what I mean. Like the beginning of the year. Did you have anything before they started shutting things down? Did you?
Yep, I did. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's probably pretty memorable.
Yeah, I mean, they were, and obviously we didn't know what was on the horizon.
Right.
You know what I mean? We had absolutely no idea. But I was in Vegas doing a part of a 2-day workshop when we were having lunch, and all of a sudden, the president goes on the TV, and all of a sudden Vegas is shutting down, and everybody was in mass chaos where it's like everybody's got to be out and nobody's down on the strip and all of this, and then all of a sudden it just and then there was a conference after the workshop, so it's like people that were overseas, they were shutting down the countries, and so people were wondering if they're even able to fly over, or even they were in air, and then all of a sudden things were shutting down, which was even more interesting.
So you did get to fly home, or were you delayed, or?
No, I got home just fine.
Wow, but that is crazy, though. That's just crazy how that. Yeah.
I mean, the proposal to me is there is no one size fits all. If you want to make something truly personalized, it takes not only the type of person that, if you want something that really is heartfelt, and you want something that really truly echoes, who you are. I mean, I've been asked to be a part of some of these where I would help create proposals, and we'd have lighting, and we'd, it'd be on a groom's farm in like a little wooded area, and there'd be lighting up the path. And, I've shared a couple of those, on this show so far, and they're amazing. Is it for everybody? No, it is not for everybody. And that's okay. But it is another option, just kind of like a photographer they'll do an engagement session.
Right. It's a prelude.
To see if there's a good vibe, to see if you want to work with those people. And if not, well, then you just have that part of it. But if you want to work with them for the wedding services that they offer, then so it's a starter. Well, this for me would be to just help with the creation of the proposal. And to me, it boils down to a very few things: idea generation, expertise, proven track record, and just you have this narrative. You have this connection, like this collaboration that everybody's buying into what we're doing and why we're doing it, right? And they're okay doing the work because they can feel the reward. They might not know what it exactly looks like, but they know it's going to blow everybody's doors off.
How elaborate have you gone for an engagement thing?
What do you mean by elaborate? Are we talking dollars? Are we talking what?
Scenery, not dollars, but I mean, just like the whole thing, production of a proposal.
There hasn't been many of them, like I mentioned, but I think that the one I just mentioned would be probably the top, where it was well thought out. It was very personal to the couple because of where it was, and when people popped out, out of the trees, if you will, it was all family members. So they were hiding behind trees and everything like that.
That's awesome.
And see, here's the thing: a lot of people don't realize that it's like imagination and creativity is free. But to actually work with somebody to help you, to be like, hey, here's how I want to propose to her. Okay, cool. Let's make that happen. Number one, somebody like myself is going to hold you accountable to it. Number two is I may not exactly know how I'm going to pull it off, but I figure it out. Right. And that's what professionals do all the time, especially creative professionals.
Reverse engineering.
Absolutely. What is the outcome you want? Okay, I want these photographs. I want her to be in awe. Okay, well, that's what you want the outcome to be. Okay, how are we going to get there?
Right.
What's our plan? How are we going to keep this a surprise for another 2 months? Right? Whatever that is,
Yeah.
How is, what do you guys like to do on Saturdays? Oh, well, do you think that she'll, did you guys talk about rings before? Is this completely a surprise? How are we going to get your family and friends there? All of these things need to be considered. And especially if it's a surprise.
Yeah.
How are you going to get a ring size?
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. It's a production for sure.
It is.
So.
I mean, and here's the thing. I need to throw this out there. If you want it done well, because there's been countless examples of proposals and weddings and whatnot where it got done, but who knows if it got done well. You know what I mean? Like if we just went through the steps, yeah, great. But is that something that people are going to remember 3 months down the road, 3 weeks down the road, 3 days from then?
Wow.
And a lot of that boils down to the people. It boils down to do you want to create a relationship with your professionals? Do you want somebody to tell you, just say yes to you, but they really have no substance behind what they're doing? Or do you want them because of their expertise and how they think, right?
Have you gone?
Go ahead.
No, I was going to just ask if you've gone to other weddings that other professionals have made and like picked up a lot of ideas on their tradition, or do you like get to speak to other wedding coordinators that are different parts of the country that you've heard some good stories or implemented?
I can't really speak to what other professionals do, just because, I mean, whatever they create in terms of relationship with their couples is their own, right?
Mm.
Like, and that's the beauty, is because what every wedding professional is going to do or planner is going to do is based on what vision or their creativity, right?
Mm-hmm.
If somebody has a background in flowers, they're going to approach it a little bit differently than if I have a background in decor and lighting and atmosphere, right? Doesn't mean one is wrong and one's right. Absolutely not. That's why there's different couples for different people. I don't judge what other professionals do, because I'm not there. I didn't put in hundreds of hours with those people, right? As long as those people that are the customers and their families rave about it, that's all that matters, because then it brings some proof to the industry when people might be a little vulnerable to not make a decision, or who's right, who's wrong, who's trustworthy, who's full of it. There's so much of that right now. Everybody's trying to get to $1, right? Or make dollars, but who's legitimate? What couple with, that have been saving for this day, who are they going to trust on their day? Right. And like I've said it in the show a couple times, is that I don't believe in the term bridezilla. I don't. I very much dislike that term, because that term came from the media. It's not like there's actually, and then obviously they can create a show and show exactly what echoes that behavior. But you get
fake reality.
Fake reality, and they can they
manipulate
can
it. Yeah.
But here's the thing: you give me a bride, you give me a woman that's never been married, her life is changing, she just graduated from college, she might have a child on the way, she's going to move, and she has these bundles of dollars in the center of a table, right? You don't know what it's going to look like. You've read the reviews, you've trusted people, you looked at their service agreements, all their options, right? You're literally lighting that money on fire. You tell me who's not going to be worried about if that money is going to pay off in a wish and a hope and a promise that this is going to turn out the way that you want it to, or better. I don't know anybody that's not going to be concerned about that. And so to come from that point of empathy, you'd be a little bit more sensitive about just wanting to have a conversation with somebody and being delicate about it, versus, assuming everything and knowing little to nothing. And it paints a picture. I mean, who is not going to be concerned about this day and what's going to happen? And it's all coming out of fear. It's coming out of anxiety. It's coming out of never don't know what to do, right? And so it's like we put ourselves in that position where we hope and we pray that this day turns out the way that it should, if not better. Who's not going to be in that space? There's not going to be a single person that wouldn't be worried about that. And so then that makes us all bridezillas then, you know? So
yeah, I wonder why they even got that term. I mean,
well, because
because they're
it's
miserable.
a moniker. It's something that sells. It's something that can, you know, and then obviously people can feed into that kind of behavior.
Yeah, I guess so.
I mean, like I've had brides over the years where it's like I've met with them 10, 12 times before their wedding. Let me tell you what, it doesn't matter to me anymore because I'm very detailed and very, you know, very high touch and very personalized anyways. But to some people, I love when brides do that, by the way, is that when they challenge those that say that they personalize or that it's a very involving experience in the preparation. I love it when they challenge that because it calls people out for what their BS is. If they say that they're a highly personalized service, number one, you prove it. Number two is that if a bride has a concern or if she wants answers or if she wants support, but your framework is this, that exposes all that nonsense right away, right? You should be there at any given time of any given day to help somebody. All they want to know is that they're cared for on a consistent basis throughout the whole planning process. And for somebody that can't do that, well, it exposes it because it's not in their box format, their templated service coverage or whatever garbage that is. You know, they're trying to pawn it off as if it's personalized. No, it's what works best for them. What's in their best interest, not in what's in the best interest of the customer. Yeah. Don't get me started on that because there's countless examples of that going on where, you know, they say that they're there to serve the customer, but when you dig a little deeper, everything that comes out of their mouth is about what makes them look best.
Yeah, like places, establishments. You probably have certain establishments you won't go to, right?
I'll go to them, but it's like, you know, but here's the thing is that it's established right away that it's a mutual thing where I've never found a venue manager that goes after any professionals if the bride and groom are involved in everything that happens, right? Because the bride and groom reserve all professionals. The bride and groom whose day it is. Maybe there's parent involvement, right? What happens is that when the bride and groom are not involved in the communications of the professionals that are representing them, that's when you have background conversations where the venue tries to pull rank over everybody else because it's our venue and they have this prideful, you know, voice. And it's like, wait a minute. You're just like anybody else. They reserved you amongst all the other people in the marketplace. Why do you got a big head about it? You shouldn't be. You should be grateful for the business, right? I don't care for that kind of behavior. You know, that's just me. It's like you could have this great reputation, but the only thing that matters is that you nailed it for this couple on this day. That's all that matters.
So Brian, I'm interested to think, were you kind of cookie cutter at first though? Were you the mentality, this is the packages I could give you? I mean,
yeah, in the beginning, but that was also before anybody knew anything else. I mean, I started in the early 90s.
Okay.
I mean, this is before, I mean, Napster was around, and I mean, the computer brand of that time was Gateway for Pete's sakes, you know. Like,
hi, Heather.
This was back before, you know, remember those stores such as Sam Goody and Musicland when they still sold CDs? That's the area I'm talking about in the early 90s where MTV still shared videos, right? Okay. Now it's nothing, you know.
So excuse my yawning. That's Clubhouse faults there. So let me see here. She says he mentioned Napster. Yeah, I know. I couldn't believe he actually went there. Yep. Hi, Heather. So,
hey, Heather. Thanks for being here.
So did you buy into the whole, or how long did it take you to like realize, you know, I need to change the way I'm doing things? Pretty fast.
I really can't pinpoint, but it was progressive.
Yeah.
I've never been the type of person to be a conformist. Yeah. I've never been the type of person to follow the bandwagon of other people. You know, in this day and age, every part of my being is about distinction. is about differentiation, the couple's narrative. How personalized can a wedding be? That is where I focus all my efforts on. Hi Heather, thanks for being here. That's where my mindset is on. How can I serve somebody? How can they have the best possible experience ever? Right? There is no cookie cutter here. Absolutely none of it. And if somebody wants a cookie cutter experience, that's okay. But that's not what I do. And I would rather have a quick conversation to distinguish which one a couple may want. I'd rather do that as soon as possible than to engage with them for a long period of time. But they want this, but they don't want to do the work to get it. Well, you can't have
you can't have your cake and eat it too if you ain't going to work on that. That's for sure.
So it's becoming much more clear for me day by day and year by year that when I interact with a couple, all it is a conversation. If somebody's not willing to allocate 15 minutes to an hour of their time to see if I can help them or if we're even a good fit for each other, what else are they not willing to do?
Yeah, it's the precursor to the rest of the story, actually.
Absolutely. 100%.
So, yeah.
And I love when couples say, well, what if we don't reserve you or whatever? And I'm like, I can guarantee you, number one, that you're not wasting my time. Number two, I can guarantee that you're going to walk away with one of a couple things: a new idea, a new way to look at your wedding, or how it can be. Is that worth an hour of your time? Because that's worth several $100s if you were to pay me for it.
So do you show them like a little resume? I mean, or no. What do you do? You kind of get their story and then paint them a picture of what it could be like.
I keep it very brief and very simple and very organic. Tell me a little something about you guys in your relationship, and then depending on what they tell me, I might come up with a couple ideas, and then everything else will be in the moment.
So
but I limit it to an hour at the very most because I value their time, I value my time, and if it doesn't turn out to anything, well, I'd rather have it end there,
right?
Have it keep going.
Gotcha.
But
wow, where's time go already?
None of the stuff of what I do. I mean, over the years, I've thought about the whole point of when I interact with somebody for the first time, it's only for one thing, and that's to see if we're a good match. That's it.
Yeah.
It's not 27 things. It's one.
Well, sometimes you're talking to a couple and stuff that it's probably a slow progression you ever had where you're spending all the time and then the momentum is right at almost at the hour. And it's like, like where you're wondering, oh, I don't know if this is going to work. And then next thing you know, it's almost an hour and like, wait a second, something just switches in there,
Well, and the beautiful part is that after all these years, I don't have all the answers, but the questions that I ask the prospective customers have probably never thought about before. That's where the gold is. That's where all of the emotion and feelings is in something that I am able to extract from them, right? Because that's the gold. Do they trust and like somebody enough to open up, right? Just like in a dating situation, right? Are you willing to be vulnerable with somebody, but you know that they got your back because you feel it? Everything that they said up until this point allows you to be more vulnerable. But I don't, and I had this conversation with my buddy Scotty, is that if somebody just shows up and, and I can't fault them because this is just the way that things happen these days when couples are looking for professionals, is that they want information, but they don't want to extract anything about them. And I'm sorry, but it doesn't work that way.
No, because the proof is in the pudding, and that pudding, that recipe is not going to look very good if the ingredients aren't all in there.
100%.
Yeah.
And I know that depending on the medium, it makes it more difficult. If it's a directory media type of site, if it's something where somebody was referred to you, who knows how much was said in that interaction, who knows what they talked about, or like being a fly on the wall and, how much was shared, or if it was just a name.
It's just like when I've done bridal and bachelorette things, I'll tell you what, it's a telltale as far as, and then out here, anytime it was, okay, so people here, I mean, I'd have to educate them that bridal thing, a bridal party is when you have the mother, the groom, and all this stuff, and they don't understand that is, you know, I mean, I would just have to educate them on how you got your bachelorette is for the night of the party. The bridal shower is where you're getting pots and pans and all your whatever, whatever is on your wish list for your house or whatever like that. But they don't understand a bachelorette party is for the night of the honeymoon. And then, it's weird. You get the parents coming into the bachelorette party having no idea that, sorry, Grandma, you just seen some nightie that they're going to wear that night, I mean, it's always the education of, well, gee, this isn't fun. We're having all these, edible stuff to try over here. It's like you came to the wrong party, so I would always have to educate them the difference between a bridal and a bachelorette party for a couple, because that's what I would always be in charge of, is the bridal and bachelorette, and always to make them differentiate the stuff. I'm like, at a bachelorette party, you don't say, here, take your toaster with you, here, take your towels with you. Well, towels might be a good thing, but like, don't take your pots and pans to the bedroom. It's like, no, they can't wear that for the bedroom. So yeah.
The biggest thing I want to impart to everybody as we close today, and then Lynn, I want to ask for your comments on how you look at a proposal now after our discussion, but is the understanding, right? Like, if you're ever around a proposal, hear about one, inquire by the understanding of it. Why did they choose to do that? What made them do it that way? Instead of just having it a one size fits all mentality, Yeah. And the more understanding is going to come from the people you know the least, because you don't have anything to pull from in order to engage with how they interact or who they are as a couple. And I love asking that, but sometimes I just get like a deer in headlights, because I can't help you unless I know the root of it.
Yeah.
And I would rather hear from it straight out of their mouth versus assuming anything.
I pretty much, I'd always liked asking couples, how did you meet? Yeah. And that's kind of a precursor as far as and how they feel about things. And so it's always, and then I ask about the proposal, because then I'm like, okay, do they have details, or, do they not, or whatever. So the proposal is, like you said, it's a precursor to know even what kind of wedding you're going to attend to. What kind of, are they gamers? Are they, into dancing? Are they into this or that? The personality should carry from proposal. Most of the times it does, over to what the wedding's going to be. So, or if it's going to be a shotgun wedding, then I guess you won't need a wedding planner, but, whatever. I mean, or you might just go to a wedding planner and not had a great proposal. Who knows?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a perspective of you never know what all entails to that. We're gonna leave here soon, but tomorrow I think we're gonna have some kind of bloopers or whatever. Whatever we talked about. I don't know if it's a long show or not. I'll have to see. It'll be in order of the other one, but it'll be something different for sure, because you're gonna be traveling.
Yeah, I'm heading back to the frozen tundra. So
yeah, so I want to wish you safe travels.
Yeah.
And please keep us posted when you get there safe. What time do you get home?
Well, my original flight got canceled.
Really?
Yeah, it got canceled. I got a notification this morning, but then within like 5 minutes after that, they put me on a different flight. And so I'll be, instead of going from San Diego to Vegas and then Vegas to Milwaukee, I'll be going from San Diego to St. Louis and then St. Louis to Milwaukee. So.
Wow. Oh, yeah. Well, at least they found your flight.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, it was automatic. I got 2 emails, and one of them said your flight has been canceled. The other one, hey, we rebooked you. So,
good.
I'm just I'm going to enjoy the last day of getting poolside and getting some sun on these arms and enjoying some company. You want to pop up the action step for everybody?
Sure. And Jules, when she was coming back from Florida, she actually left Florida Friday, didn't get home till Monday. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah. So here we go.
Well, I hope that doesn't happen to me.
Of course not. But I'm just saying, go with whatever happens, and that's it.
Exactly. So the action step, and Lynn and I both thank you for joining us this morning to talk about proposal, traditional versus modern, and the action step and the question. If you, everybody that's watching, if you personally were to create the ideal proposal, what would it look like?
Some people don't want to think about this, but
I got
whatever.
I got it. But see, that's also the beauty of it, is because I don't have all the answers. Nobody has all the answers, but without tapping into somebody communicating something, until they put something down or until they give a little thought to it, we don't really know where anybody's coming from. And what you just said there, Lynn, is all over the place. It's unfortunate because without the people involved, you can't create anything.
It's called miscommunication or no communication, and it's lost in our world today. And I think Clubhouse helps people listen better communication wise, but then it ruins relationships. So I mean, everything has a good and a bad to it.
Right.
But that's one thing I did learn. So I guess we're at time. We got to get out of here, huh?
Yeah. Yes,
so,
we are.
Thank you, everybody. You have a good day, and we will see you back on Thursday. All right, you guys. Be safe,
everyone.
Brian. Love
Thank
you.
you. Love you too.
Hold on.